If Genesis 1 was the beauty of creation, and Genesis 2 was the joy of paradise, Genesis 3 is the moment everything changes. In this chapter, a single choice shatters the perfect world, and its ripple effects reach you and me today. But hidden inside this story of tragedy is a powerful promise of hope that still stands. Genesis 3 begins with a new character, the serpent. The Bible describes him as more crafty than any other animal God had made. This wasn't just a talking snake, it was Satan, using the serpent as a disguise to deceive. Let's dive right into Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 to 5. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. The serpent doesn't start with an outright lie. He begins with a question. Did God really say? Temptation often begins this way, not by denying God outright, but by making us doubt His word and His goodness. In verse 6, Eve responds, But the serpent twists the truth, making God's command seem like a limitation instead of a protection. He suggests that eating the fruit will make them like God, knowing good and evil. Verse 6, And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Eve sees the fruit as good for food, pleasing to the eye, and desirable for gaining wisdom. Notice, temptation often appeals to what looks good, feels good, and promises something more. She eats, and Adam, who was with her, also eats. Immediately their eyes are opened, but not in the way they hoped. Instead of gaining freedom, they feel shame. They sew fig leaves together to cover themselves, hiding from each other and from God. Verses 7 to 10. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. Here we can see that sin always promises more than it delivers. Instead of becoming like God, they feel fear and guilt. That's the nature of disobedience. It separates us from the one who made us. God calls out, Where are you? Not because He doesn't know, but because He's giving them a chance to come forward and confess. But instead of owning their sin, Adam blames Eve, and Eve blames the serpent. Verses 11 to 13. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree, whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? The man said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. This blame shifting is a hallmark of a broken relationship, not just with God but with each other. Then come the consequences. God speaks first to the serpent, declaring a curse, and in verse 15, we hear the first hint of the gospel. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Verse 14 to 15. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. This is a prophecy that one day, a descendant of the woman, Jesus Christ, would defeat Satan, even though it would cost him suffering on the cross. God then tells Eve her pain in childbirth will increase and her relationship with her husband will be strained to Adam. He says the ground is cursed because of him. Work will now be hard and eventually death will come. Verses 16 to 19. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also, and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. This is the origin of all human struggle. Pain, conflict, toil, and death entered the world because of sin. But even here God shows mercy. He makes garments of skin for Adam and Eve, a sign that something had to die to cover their shame, pointing forward to the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus. Verses 20 to 24. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also, and to his wife, did the Lord God make coats of skins, and clothed them. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to keep the way of the tree of life. God sends them out of Eden, not as a punishment alone, but to keep them from eating the tree of life and living forever in a state of sin. He places cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way. Genesis 3 explains the brokenness we see in our world and in ourselves, but it also introduces the first promise of redemption. Even in judgment, God's plan for salvation was already in motion. The question for us is, will we listen to the same old lies the serpent tells, or will we trust the God who offers us life through his Son? Until next time, shalom, peace.